today we're going to take a look at some strange, secret, and even creepy Pokemon locations and zones that have weird backstories in the Pokemon games. Let's get started. Obviously, first is going to be Lavender Town, with the story of the tower being that of a location that's filled with the ghosts and the sorrow of Pokemon that have passed. Of course, if you go here, you will encounter the Ghost, which is a pretty creepy entity that belongs to a Marowak that's passed away. And again, Lavender Town, you guys may know that Lavender Town as a whole has a lot of weird stuff, like the little girl outside of the Pokemon Tower asking if you believe in ghosts, and if you say no, she'll say that she can see a white hand on your shoulder, which became a whole urban legend. Overall, everything about Lavender Town is weird, and especially the tower itself, which contains a lot of really creepy people, as well as a reference to possibly Gary or Blue losing his Raticate from the SSN battle against Red, and in this case, him coming here to, well, put it to rest. And again, the whole vibe of Lavender Town is just off. Heading over to Hoenn though, skipping over Gen 2 for a bit, we have Mount Pyre over in Hoenn. And Mount Pyre actually has this bottom section of the tower, which serves, well, a similar purpose to the Pokemon Tower from, of course, Kanto, which is a sort of house of memories, a location for people to go to kind of remember their Pokemon. Even the music here is a little bit creepy, and overall, Mount Pyre does have this ominous feeling to it. The old couple that kind of stays at the top of the mountain are overseers of this place, and they oversee the two gems or orbs that are being used to summon, well, Groudon and Kyogre. So overall, this whole place does have an eerie feeling to it. It's an odd location, and I'm kind of sad they didn't do more with it. Now, Sinnoh is filled with a lot of creepy locations, but there are a few. Now, in Sinnoh, you can find the Lost Tower. Now, this is the resting ground again for a lot of deceased Pokemon and serves as the Pokemon Tower for this place. Now, if you make your way to the top of the tower, you receive 2 items from the tower's overseer, and those items are a cleanse tag to basically get rid of the ghostly apparitions, and HM04, which is strength. Also kind of poetically makes sense because we had to use a lot of strength to push through the sadness that the tower unfortunately has to harbor. Overall, this is one of the places, and we still have other places in, Sinnoh that are a bit weird. Moving over to Gen 6, we have the Ghost Girl in Lumiose City. Now, if you go into one of the buildings, and honestly, this whole area in Lumiose City, this part of Lumiose, is a little bit off, and if you go into one of the elevators, when you exit on the next floor, you will have a Ghost Girl, or one of the Maniac Girls, whatever you want to call them, the Hex Maniacs, will actually just float past you. She'll talk to you, just say that you're not the one, and then float away. And if you go to the hotel right on the other side of the street, there will actually be another one of those Hex Maniac Girls who'll just be listening to the wall, trying to hear something. Again, the whole vibe here, these houses in Lumiose City are just creepy. Next, we have the Scary House in X and Y. Now, this place can be found on Kalos's Route 14. If you go to this Scary House, you will actually find it to be in the northern section of the route, and inside there will be a single man. When the player actually first arrives at the house, you'll arrive with Shauna, Tierno, and Trevor, and the man will actually retell a haunted story. He will talk about that it was a dark and stormy night many years ago. Lost, I arrived at this house and went inside. The lights would not turn on, so I fearfully looked around the house. Eventually, I made my way into the kitchen. There was no sign of anyone being there. I turned the fridge, and when I opened it, a faint light leaked out. I could finally make out my surroundings, and I saw the faint outline of a man huddling in the corner of the room. I tried to tell him that I was lost, and I was hoping he'd let me stay until morning, but when I approached him, the man suddenly screamed, "Stay back!" I apologized and continued to plead my case. "Please, can't you help me?" "I'm not talking to you," he shouted. I looked at the man in surprise. When I did this, the man asked me, "Can't you see them behind you? A horde of faceless men." Well, he basically continues on talking about this specific topic and then asking for a tip, which kind of makes it seem like he's making this shit up. But if you actually exit the house, there are a bunch of gravestones all around it, and there is a theory that this could be related to one of the families that lives inside of Lumiose, who's originally from, I think, Unova, who may have passed away. But again, it is just a theory. Old Chateau from Sinnoh. Like I said, Sinnoh does have a few different things, and of course, in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, as well as the remakes, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, you can go to the Old Chateau. That's a ghostly mansion, and inside of it, there are a few things going on. So, first of all, the Old Chateau does feature, well, a specific Pokemon, right? There's a specific set of Pokemon you can get here. I mean, again, it's going to be a lot of ghost types. It makes total sense. It just is logical that you'd find that, but there is a few specific things you can find in here that you will not find anywhere else, and that's going to be the fact that there is a butler who kind of just goes around like a ghost. There's a little girl who appears in one of the bedrooms, and also this is where you go to find yourself none else than Rotom. Yes, this is the location where you go to do the whole Rotom quest, the little side quest to get your Rotom at night. It is the location of that, so it makes it a unique place, and again, it is a creepy location to say the least. Like, it does have some really eerie feelings to it, which makes it really stand out in that sense. But again, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on it. Overall, it's a creepy place. Then we have Celestial Tower, which is another location that's kind of situated within Unova specifically. Now, this one is similar to the, Pokemon Kanto Tower, the Hoenn's Mount Pyre, and Sinnoh's Lost Tower. It's kind of a similar kind of place of remembrance. However, inside of here, when you go inside, it's kind of a place that's, again, very much a place of people trying to remember their lost Pokemon. It really is odd, and you don't really spend a lot of time here. There is some plot relevance to this location, but overall, you don't really go here a lot, and it's just kind of a sad place, to be honest with you. Next, we have the trainer school from Alola. Now, this place has a lot of different things going on with it. First of all, there are a bunch of school mysteries, right? Like in Ultra Sun and Moon, when you go here and you speak to the youngster on the Big Wave Beach, he will tell you about a rumor about the school's, trainers and people there, saying that basically the place is somewhat haunted. Like, for example, one of the mysteries is the fact that there's a cursed diary, right? There's a whole talk about that a diary tells a story of someone who bought a seemingly haunted house, and basically goes on about that. There's scary lights, there is Lord Slimmy, there's just a scary PA system and just stairs to nowhere, as well as ghost classes. Again, it's really weird. The whole thing with the trainer school is that it's just creepy bad. Like, everything about it seems creepy. The whole place just has a weird, eerie kind of disturbing vibe to it, which is really odd because it's supposed to be a place of education, but schools are generally in Japan often seen as a place where a lot of spirits can be conjured up because it's a place of regret, anxiety, and a lot of pain that people go through in life. So it kind of makes sense. Overall, though, the trainer school is an odd one, but it does stick out. Then we head over to Unova once again, and this time it's going to be the Strange House, which is an actively haunted location that's haunted by a ghost of a young girl. Now, this is interesting because this same exact ghost is the one that you can actually see on Marvelous Bridge in specifically Black and White 2 as well. Now, this ghost intentionally basically moves furniture around to force you as the player to enter different rooms, and eventually at the end of this whole place, if you get to the end, you'll find the Lunar Wing, which is necessary if you want to get your hands on a very particular Pokemon, in this case that being the legendary Pokemon Cresselia. Now, again, this house is creepy. The whole ghost girl has a whole story around her that kind of does go through and explain a lot of stuff. And there's also bookshelves filled with information. A top left book that talks about Cresselia, another book that talks about Hypno, and we all know Hypno's creepy. Another book talking about Darkrai, one about Drowsy. Again, there's a lot of different things here and elements that make this place stick out as a truly haunted place in Pokemon. Next, we have the Chamber of Emptiness, which is a small cave found in Kalos, and there is nothing in the cave other than specifically two items. A Bennettite, which is used to specifically evolve a Bennett into a Mega form, and also the Spooky Plates, a plate that you'd basically just use on Arceus to make it into a Ghost type in this case. But thing is, that's it. There's nothing else here. The Chamber of Emptiness is just a small cave. It's off of Route 22 in Kalos, and again, you can access it by simply surfing towards it and eventually scaling down a section with waterfall. And once you're here, it's just empty. It's got a kind of octagonal shaped room to it and just those two items, and that's it. The place just has an eerie feeling. It wasn't really used for anything else, and the fact that you have an item related to Bennett, and Bennett itself is a little bit of a creepy Pokemon to begin with, is kind of telling. Also, the name Chamber of Emptiness kind of makes sense as well, I guess. It's empty. There's nothing there, right? But empty can mean a lot of different things. Empty in the soul, empty in the heart, like literally and figuratively empty. Next, we have Geocen Town in Kalos as well. Now, you may have noticed there's a lot of Kalos in here, but yeah, this place is, again, really weird. It features rocks in it that are meant to resemble the real-life, like, Stonehenge rocks, which also carry a weird mystery around them. Overall, Geocen Town just has a bit of an odd feeling about it. Next, we have the Abyssal Ruins. Now, this place is a literal sunken temple found in the eastern parts of Unova. Again, you access it by using dive outside of battle, and it is east of Lavender Town in Undella Bay. Now, the ruins are weird. Basically, when you go down into them, you can only take about 500 steps until a torrent of water just shoots you back up. And your goal is to try to make your way through correctly to get towards the different sort of rooms. Inside, you'll find different things, and it's a good way to get your hands on relic items, which have a total value of 1.7 million Pokédollars when you sell them to the item maniac in Undella Town, along with also 14 plates, which you can find, which are related to Arceus. Again, the whole place has an eerie feeling. It is a sunken temple of a civilization long gone, and also the items found inside, all these relic statues and items, these are relics. You're basically grave robbing them, if we're gonna be honest, and you're taking stuff from a long lost civilization. Again, an eerie feeling follows it all around. Memorial Hill in Alola. Now, Memorial Hill in Ultra Sun and Moon is the basically southern area of Akala Island and is just reachable through Route 9. Now, in here, you will find essentially a mysterious little place, and there is even some weird stuff that goes on here. Like, there's a whole weird element going on in this place if you do enter it. But overall, it is just a creepy location. It is a graveyard, more or less. It's a memorial place for Pokemon long gone, and it just does hold a little bit of an eerie feeling to it. I mean, it's literally an old cemetery, and speaking of old cemetery, there is another location which we're going to talk about in just a second. So, the Old Cemetery. Yes, this is a place found in Galar, specifically. It is contained within the Giant's Bed. Now, this is part of the, of course, Crown Tundra DLC, which if you guys haven't played, you definitely should. It is a great DLC, in my opinion. But this place is just, again, eerie. It's an old cemetery. It's literally called the Old Cemetery. It's an old graveyard filled with worn out tombstones. And if you go around there, you can actually find carrot seeds, which can be planted and are also located here. And after completing the Crown Tundra storyline, if you do go here at nighttime, you can actually witness something interesting. You can see Peony and Oleana having a conversation. And this is because Peony is actually the brother of Rose, and Oleana is just obsessed with Rose. So again, interesting. And also in terms of items here, you can find a Pokédoll, you can find Shadow Ball, a Soothe Bell, as well as the Shade Root Carrot in the area specifically here. But yeah, it's just, again, an odd place. Next, we have the ruins in, specifically Paldea. Now, here's the thing. The treasures of ruin are these 4 legendaries which you can go around and find. And they're all kind of contained inside of these, I guess, caves, right? They're sort of hidden away and blocked off. And you got to find these stakes to be able to even unlock the locations, which is fine and all. Nothing really crazy to say about that. Like, that's pretty straightforward. However, there's also these weird locations dotted around the map with just ruins, like just straight up ruins of lost houses, and it makes you wonder what was here before. And usually if you go there at night, you'll find more ghostly Pokemon, you'll find more creepy things going on. Like, overall, I always wondered, and we never really got an explanation for what's the purpose of these areas, what's the point, what's going on here, why are these places abandoned, and why are they so creepy? Again, I'd love to know what the purpose for them is, but I guess we'll have to wait until one day in the future.